Hi everyone, in this video I just want to give you a quick overview as to how you can use Microsoft Flows to help you synchronize your list of students with a list of participants in a Microsoft Teams group. So you may be setting up a Microsoft Teams group to actually facilitate online collaboration with the students that you have registered in your course, but you end up having all of the students registered on Canvas. And the trick is now to get that list of students synchronized with the list of members in your Microsoft Teams group. So let's take a look at how Microsoft Flows can actually help us with synchronizing this automatically. So here is a Microsoft Teams group that I'm using for my course. So the students are collaborating here. We actually have meetings set up so that we can meet in a virtual space, have discussions with each other. We can create breakout groups in there. And all the communication, all the written communication during these classes, the chats and so on, get recorded in these different threads for Monday's groups and Tuesday's groups. And they also have access to a class notebook. Now that class notebook is again managed through Microsoft Teams and the connection with the class notebook. So only students that are part of that Microsoft Teams group actually have access to our class notebook. Now the trick is to actually get students into this Microsoft Teams group here. What I can do is I can manage the team and I could add members, so the students would end up showing up as members, but the problem here is that I can only add one student at a time, so I cannot upload a list. So the alternative is I actually give the students a code to actually join this team. The issue there is that not all of the students are able to easily follow these instructions, so a lot of students are struggling with that. So it would be better to actually have an automated way that I can look at the list of students in Canvas and then automatically add them in Microsoft Teams. So to get this done, you can download a flow that I've created using Microsoft Flows. So the link to that is somewhere here underneath that video. And with that flow, once you actually have that, you just need to go into Microsoft Office. By the way, I just realized, so here I see, for example, I've got 61 students in that specific course registered. But in Microsoft Teams here, if I go to members, you see I only have 43 of them actually joining the course at this point. So I need to help these other students to actually get access to Microsoft Teams, to our group here, and I'm using a flow for that now. So to get to the Microsoft Flow section, all I need to do is just go to office.com, log on with my account there, and I should have an area, if you go and look through all of the apps, there should be Power Automate. Now in Power Automate, you actually can create flows. And what you would need to do now is simply download that zip file from my page and import that into your Microsoft Flows environment. So I click on import, I select the zip file that I've downloaded. So that's this Sync Students Canvas to MS Teams. So I open that, and so it's uploading this now. And so here's a short description at this point. By the way, huge thanks to Mark Smithers, who used to work here at RMIT. A lot of the code that I'm reusing here in this flow actually had been developed by Mark, and he was kind enough to share that with me. So we're importing that package. You see it actually relies on an Office 365 groups connection, which you're going to have to set up, and the Microsoft Teams connection, which you're also going to have to set up. So to set these up, I simply click on that and I select my connection here and say save. Similarly, I select my Microsoft Teams connection. I could create a new one if I don't have one yet. So all it is basically logging in with my Microsoft Office account and giving this application access to, for example, read that Microsoft Teams information and add people to Microsoft Teams. Okay, so I've got these two things set. I can select what happens here when I'm actually importing that package. So if it exists already, I might just update it. Right now I want to create a new package, and I'm going to call this one BUSM4420 sync students to team side from Canvas shell. Okay, so and now I can say save. And with these settings set, I can now press that import button. So before, that import button was actually not available. So let me select that here. And so now I'm importing that package. And so at the top here, you see all package resources were successfully imported. And so now I can take a look at my flows. And so if I refresh this page, I actually get to see that imported flow. So what I want to do is actually take a look at it first. Let's edit it so we can see what's actually happening in this flow. So we have a few different steps that this flow goes through. The first thing is to get the team ID, and you see here that there are a few steps where it says configure, and this means that you should actually now configure this part. So for my team, for getting my team ID, for example, I need to now go in here, and it should actually list all of the teams that you have available. So of course in Microsoft Teams you would have to set up that Microsoft Teams section first. Once you have that, you should be able to select that. So in my case, I'm looking for BUSM4420. And now the next thing is to actually get the course ID of the course that I want to sync. So in this case, what I'm going to do is click in here, and now I need the string value that actually identifies that course. Now to get that, all you need to do is go to your course. And you will always find that there is a Canvas URL followed by a section courses, and then comes a number, and that number is your course ID in Canvas. So let's copy that, go into our flow and paste that value here. Okay, so I've got that. The last thing that I now need is my access token. And this access token needs to be generated in Canvas. Again, what that is a login permission. So you allow this flow to actually log in as yourself into that Canvas system and read information and potentially even make changes. Now this flow here does not actually make any changes. It's just reading information, but still in general, word of advice, do not share that user token with anybody. That's like giving away your login information for the system. So it's safe to enter that in here, because if you want to check, it's really all just reading information and using that to then get the student IDs out of the Canvas shell and create accounts in Microsoft Teams. So let's actually create that user token. To do that, what you need to do is go to Canvas, go to your account, and in the account, go to settings. And in the settings, you see you may already have a lot of approved integrations that have access to your Canvas account using these tokens. Some of them may have been generated automatically. You may already have some generated manually. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will find that you can generate a new access token. And so for the sake of this video, I will create a new one, say demo. So this is a name that will appear later on in that system. You see, I already have one for Microsoft Teams synchronization. It just helps you to remember what that token was for. So if you then accidentally share that token with somebody else, you can go into that system and delete that token again, so that you're basically resetting your login information. Yeah? So you would then create a new access token and use that. Don't use one that you have shared with somebody else before. Okay, if you want to, you can set an expiry date for that. So let's choose that for tonight, for example. So 17. So 5 p.m. tonight. So now I can generate that token, and here I have that token. I can copy that. I should copy it now and put it over into my flow. Done. And so now I can use that token here. I can press save, and that's pretty much all I need to do. If you were to use this system at a different university, you would also have to look through other things like the Canvas URL strings. For us here at RMIT, that initial part of the URL is rmit.instructure.com, but different unis have different Canvas addresses, so you would have to make some changes to that flow. Okay, so now with these 3 core things set up, I can give this a go. I can save that flow. Now go back to my flow. And so now I could actually run this. It's complaining, well, the flow is off. Yeah, I have not turned this flow on. So let me show you how I would turn that on. I actually select that. And in here with these 3 dots, I can now turn that on, and it's gonna run automatically at a certain time early in the morning. The assumption here is that if a new student joins a course, then overnight that registration will actually happen on Canvas. So the student then appears on our Canvas shell, and so shortly thereafter, this flow is gonna run on a daily basis. It's going to check for new students in Canvas and then add them to our team site, to our group in Microsoft Teams. So if you go in, if you edit this one more time, you can, if you edit this flow one more time, you can actually see it is all triggered through a recurrence. It runs at 3 a.m. every morning. If you want to change that, you can change that trigger condition. Okay, so now let's run this, see what happens. Okay, so it did run. Let me check my Teams page. So I now have 60 people listed here, and in my course, I had 61 students registered. One of them is actually marked as inactive, so he still shows up in my Canvas list, but she dropped this course already. So that's why that student is not appearing in Microsoft Teams. This is a quick way to actually get your students over into Microsoft Teams. Make sure you select the correct course ID and the correct Microsoft Teams group to synchronize. And don't forget that access token that you're generating is your login information, so don't share that with anybody else. Okay. Hope this is helpful. All the best.